Hello everyone! In this week's video, we're going to see what my original characters would look like if they were real. A while back, I made a video where I turned some of my original characters into realistic portraits using the website Artbreeder. Since then, many of you have been requesting for me to do this again with more of my characters. Last time when I did this, it featured the main cast from my webcomic, My Next Door Neighbors, so I had Doris, Chase, Bryson, and Annabelle. Today, I'll be doing a few more characters from my webcomic, and also some of my characters that have fantasy characteristics. So the Artbreeder website has changed quite a lot since the last time I used it. I was a little lost and was a bit sad I would need to relearn where things were. Also, just for clarification, Artbreeder is not sponsoring this video. Anyways, after signing into my account, I click this little green button and notice there are two options. I assume Splicer is what I used before, so I clicked on Collage to see what that was about. And yeah, as the name suggests, you can collage things together. I wasn't very interested in this, so I went back to Splicer and selected Portraits. And wow, the UI is really different, but I don't really mind it. The old UI felt very chaotic, whereas this does feel a bit more organized. However, it might take me a bit to learn what all the sliders do again. I'm going to click Add Parent to select a base picture to start with. Oh, also, I'm starting by creating my character Faith. Faith is pretty simple in design, and her hairstyle doesn't seem too hard to replicate, so I figured she would be a good character to start with. Since Faith has pink hair, I'm looking through the options for that, and I am looking for a similar hair shape. Faith's hair part is on our left, but I'm okay with it being on the right since I can flip the picture if needed. I mostly wanted to get the swoop of her bangs. I liked this picture, so I picked this one, and I'm going to select another picture to mix with it. Let's maybe try this one. Faith has teal eyes, so I'll slide up the blue eye slider. I'm not going to be too picky about colors because I can edit this later in Clip Studio Paint, but I want things to be kind of close to make things easier for myself when editing. Faith is 15, and this person doesn't look that age, so I try to adjust that. For some reason, it makes the colors more saturated the younger I make the person look, and this is a bit annoying because I was liking how the colors were looking. But I continue to play around with the different sliders like pitch and yaw. The words sound weird, but basically they change how the head is tilted and turned. Faith is often really happy, so I wanted to try to make her look happy in this picture. I played around with the happy slider, eye open slider, and mouth open slider. Also, the happy option very quickly makes faces look kind of weird, but we'll discuss this a bit later. Also, for ages, I was trying to find the art option. It makes things look more real or more illustrated, and I couldn't find it for the longest time. And while it turns out it's in the colors area for some reason, I'm not sure what other category it should go into, but I wasn't expecting it to be in this one. So yeah, it took me a really long time to find. So I continue to play around with things like the colors and expression, and oh goodness, do not slide the open eye option all the way up. Anyways, now we have this, and it is a step in the right direction, but I felt like she was still looking a bit old, and I wanted the hair to be a better shape that matches Faith's hair. I wanted the swoop to be more swoopy or something kind of close. I liked the more natural look of this face, so I'm going to mix this with the face I just made to combine their characteristics. And I do feel like mixing these two worked really well. I imagine Faith wears some makeup, but her grandma probably doesn't let her wear a ton, so I did want a more natural look. Also, Faith probably had to beg a ton for her grandma to let her dye her hair pink. It's not her natural hair color. Her natural hair color is like a dirty blonde or light brown. So yeah, but she dyes it pink. I did lose the pink hair and some of the colors while doing this, but like I said, I can edit that later to make the colors match better. I'm liking the face, but the hair still doesn't have the swoop I want, so I went on a hunt for a swoopy style and found this, and this should work hopefully. I mixed it with a slightly edited version of the picture from earlier, and I think I finally have the look I'm going for. She was looking a little mean, so I did try to soften her expression a little bit. Okay, now that I have the look I want, I'm going to take it into Clip Studio Paint and edit the colors. I use a hue adjuster to make the hair more pink. It changes all the colors, but with the help of a layer mask, I can make the layer only affect the hair by going over with a brush. For the eyes, I make them a bit more teal and also make the pupils a bit darker. I noticed in Artbreeder the pupils sometimes get lost. And ta-da! We have Faith. I feel like this turned out pretty good and has the right kind of vibe I was looking for. I feel like my baby looks very pretty as a real person. Next up is my character Emmett. And spoilers, I am not happy with how this one turned out. I'm so sorry, Emmett. Emmett is also 15 years old and is best friends with Chase. He's on the tennis team and is kind of a goofy dork. He's very talkative and happy and kind of easily gets excited. So for Emmett, in my head, he has a very boyish look, if that makes sense. Like, his look is more cute instead of handsome, I suppose. So I started looking through options of different male faces. I kind of liked this one, so I was trying to see what I could do with it. For this picture, the face ends up not looking like Emmett at all. However, the hairstyle gets these little swoopy bits by the neck. And I often draw Emmett's hair like that by his neck. It kind of flips upwards. So I wanted to try to keep that characteristic. However, the bangs are totally wrong, so I was trying to mix it with a different picture to maybe get the bangs more correct. And I play around with this for a while. This was supposed to be a quick video for me to get done because, like I said in my last video, my boyfriend is visiting. He's coming tomorrow as I'm recording this audio, but this still took me a decent amount of time. I spent like 5 hours creating and editing these pictures, so it still took a decent amount of time. I did get faster as we keep going because I was getting more used to where things were. Also, remember how I said the smile slider quickly makes things look weird? For some reason, if you want a nice big expressive smile, the face just gets a bit creepy looking, not gonna lie. And I think that's why Emmett was so difficult for me to make. I wanted him to be expressive and look really energetic and happy, but when I would try to do that, things would look odd. Another thing is that in my head, Emmett has very round eyes. Brayson and Chase were a bit easier to make because their eyes are on the sharper side. And in Artbreeder, when you try to make a face look more masculine, it makes the eyes more boxy and narrow. So I was having a really hard time making Emmett look like a boy while keeping the rounder eyes and happier expression, because it instantly wants to make them look like mean and have squinty eyes. In the footage, I'm not even showing you everything because it took me so many attempts to try to make Emmett, and I was mixing so many things together, and after a very long time, I eventually ended up with this, and in the moment, I thought it was pretty decent, but I do need to edit the hair a good amount. I take this hairstyle from this guy because the bangs are more correct. They are partially parted on the left like Emmett's hair. So I slap this hair on top and try to blend it in to the best of my abilities. The trickiest part was the forehead. I had to go in with a skin color and try to match it up the best I could because under this was the actual hair, and so I had to paint in a forehead. Next I take the flare out hair bits from that picture from earlier and edit them onto the main picture. And yeah, I know it looks dumb, but this is how I draw his hair. It just doesn't translate the best in real life. It looks like he has a mullet. I'm so sorry, Emmett. Anyways, I push forward and edit the eyes some. I was having a hard time making them green because his eye value started kind of dark, but I'm trying to make it work. Also, you won't see it in the footage, but I tried to tame down his eyelashes a bit to help him look more boyish, I guess. I don't know. It looks like he has mascara on. But some boys do have really thick eyelashes, like my brother Jacob. I wish I had his eyelashes because they're amazing. So this is what I ended up with, and I thought it was okay. But then I took a break and came back and was like, oh, I hate this. To try to salvage things, I changed out the mouth and eyes. The open smile looked really awkward for some reason. So I brought in a closed smile. And the eyes looked really edited, so I brought in some different eyes and tried to make those fit in. I was actually kind of surprised by how well I was able to integrate these, but in the end I feel like I'm not super duper happy with how this turned out. I don't know, it just doesn't quite feel like Emmett. It just looks kind of goofy. But like I said, in my head Emmett is kind of a goofy dork, so maybe it's okay for him to look a bit goofy. So my audience kind of hates this next character I'm going to turn into a realistic portrait. So first let's give a shout out to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes that cover all kinds of topics like illustration, animation, graphic design, and so much more. Skillshare is for anyone who loves learning and wants to explore their creativity. Invest in yourself and your personal growth. Do you want to learn how to draw your own realistic portraits? I recommend Start Drawing, Techniques for Pencil Portraits by Gabrielle Brickey. In this class, Gabrielle teaches you how to get started drawing your own beautiful lifelike pencil portraits. Use this class to get started on your own pencil portrait. Collaborate with classmates from all over the world and share your project for feedback. Skillshare is ad-free so you can stay in the zone while you're exploring new skills. Has new premium classes launched each week, so there's always something new to check out. And their entire catalog is now available of subtitles in Spanish, French, Portuguese, and German. If you are interested in trying Skillshare for yourself, the first 1,000 people to use the link in the description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. You can even check out my class on Skillshare. So go try Skillshare today, and thank you so much again to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. So I wasn't going to make Zeke from my webcomic, mostly because a lot of people don't like him. I don't want to say much about Zeke because I don't want to spoil things when it comes to the story, but he is 14 years old, almost 15. He likes to read, his favorite subject is English, and he is friends with Doris and the rest of the gang. And a lot of readers don't like him, and I totally understand why. So yeah, I wasn't going to make him, but with just a bit of tweaking of this one picture, I was able to make a result I was pleased with. After I made this one, I kept wondering why this one was so easy. It literally took me like under 10 minutes. And maybe it's because I don't care about Zeke as much, so I'm not as picky. Plus, it's way easier to make an angry face look good in Artbreeder compared to a happy face. But anyways, here is Zeke as a person. I feel like it matches his personality pretty well. Next, I wanted to challenge myself a bit more and create portraits of some of my fantasy characters. First, we're going to try to create Chip. And if you want to see the video I made him in, it's this one. Chip lives in the same universe as my fairy-like characters, Pariah and Carson, so he has pointy ears like an elf. I've never tried to make a character with pointy ears in this, so I was a bit nervous. Thankfully, I was able to find a lot of different pictures that seemed like they would work well. If I found ones that I may want to use, I would give them a heart to save them to my liked area. That way it was easy to find all the options that I liked. So I actually started by adjusting this picture. It doesn't have elf ears, but I like the face shape and it has shorter hair. In my head, Chip's hair is pretty short. Chip's design was inspired by mint chip ice cream, because I was making him for a TikTok challenge. So his hair is mint like the ice cream, and he has a darker skin tone to represent the chips. To get the skin tone how I wanted, I played around with the race sliders to try to get the color to look right. Once I got this color to what I wanted, I started to look through my likes for a picture that had very prominent ears. I knew that when I mixed the pictures, I would lose the pointiness of the ears a bit, so I wanted them to be really exaggerated. I liked the ears in this one, and to help it mix better with my other picture, I decided to make it look a bit closer to Chip's design. That way the pictures wouldn't be super different and they would mix together better. One thing I am a bit sad about is that Chip loses the original hairstyle I wanted. It ends up being closer to this one, but I could see Chip styling his hair like this because it'd be out of his face. I just don't like drawing hair in that kind of style. It's always tricky for me. So I feel like this works. So Chip is Silva's royal guard. Silva is a character I made in this video, and I was considering trying to create Silva as well. However, Silva has green skin, white eyelashes, and white freckles, and I felt like her design was a bit too fantasy looking and would be too hard to recreate. So yeah, I decided to not make Silva, but I do feel like it would be kind of cool. Maybe I'll try it someday. After doing some more mixing, I felt like the face looked good, so I brought it into Clip Studio Paint to do some editing. The pointy ears did get kind of lost, so I used the liquify tool to stretch the ears back out and make them pointy. Chip has a scar through his right eyebrow, so I'm adding that in. It was kind of fun trying to make a portrait for a more mature character. A lot of my characters are teenagers, but I imagine Chip is in his early to mid-20s, so I was able to make his features more mature looking. One part I was a bit nervous about was his ear. The tip of his ear is missing, probably lost in a sword fight or something, and his ear also has a scar on it. I tried to paint in a scar, but I think I kind of failed. But I tried. I was trying to look up scars and stuff on like the internet, but I kept getting kind of gross pictures and I'm like, I don't want to look at that. Getting rid of the tip of the ear was actually pretty easy. I colored over it with the background color. Now for the hair. I first made it a light silver so it's easier to add the mint color to it. I applied the mint color and set it to the layer mode overlay, and it did kind of work, but I'm not super happy with the result. I feel like it could maybe be a bit better. I kind of wish I would have made the hair lighter in the original picture to get the values more correct. But this is fine. It's just for fun anyways. Lastly, he needs the pink eyes. Also, yes, I'm aware that Chip kind of looks like a character from the Owl House. I got so many comments about that. And I've never seen the character before, so I didn't know that. But I wasn't trying to make him look like that character. But anyways, here is Chip. I think he gives off the serious vibes I was trying to capture, and I am happy with how the ears turned out. Lastly, I wanted to try to create Raelyn. Raelyn is a character I made in a video years ago, but for whatever reason I really like her and I'm still really attached to her. She has sheep characteristics. That's why she has horns and different ears. Those are going to be a bit tricky to add, but let's give it a try. Since Raelyn is a sheep, she has really curly hair, and she dyes it a dark reddish burgundy color. Her natural hair color is black. You could say she's the black sheep of the family. Anyways, since I have done this a handful of times now, I feel like you all get the gist of how this works. I find a picture, try to make it look more how I want, find other pictures to mix it with, and so on until I'm happy. Raelyn wasn't too hard to make, but I was having problems with her makeup looking really heavy. I do think Raelyn would maybe wear some eye makeup, but not a ton. She wouldn't be all glammed up or something. Raelyn is a sheep, but she doesn't act like one. She is often angry and kind of rebellious. She doesn't like being told what to do. She doesn't like to follow the herd. I'm sorry for all the sheep puns. Because Raelyn is a sheep, people think that they can walk all over her. But she stands her ground and stands up for herself. So for Raelyn's expression, I wanted it to be more angry and a bit intimidating looking. I also wanted her eyes to look kind of sharp and more narrow. Oh, also Raelyn is like 18, so she's a bit older than my other characters. I feel like her original age was maybe 16. I don't remember how old her original age is, but she's kind of changed over the years and her current age is 18. I'm thinking she's like a senior in high school. But once I was happy with the look, it's time to do some photoshopping in Clip Studio Paint. I always want to say photoshopping when I'm editing pictures like this, but I don't use Photoshop. Anyways, I found some goat horns to edit onto the head. Raelyn is a sheep, but her horns don't grow incorrectly, so they look more like goat horns. It's another thing that makes her kind of different and not liked by most people. My poor baby. For the ears, I found a picture of a sheep and I'm going to take the ear from it and edit it onto Raelyn. Now I just place them on the side of the head and it looks a bit funny. Let's try to make this look a bit better. I get rid of the rest of the white around the edges and also start erasing the ear to make it look like the hair is overlapping it in spots. And I feel like this helped a good amount. Having the hair flow in front of them made them feel more integrated into the picture. In the end, I do feel like the elements look kind of out of place, but they're not too bad. I got them to look maybe a little convincing, I hope. Oh, also I re-added some fur texture. It got kind of lost when I was getting rid of all the white around the ears. So adding this back in helped, I think. I do need to do a little editing to the eyes. Raelyn has wide pupils like a sheep does. I always wonder what it's like to see out of pupils like this. It probably looks a bit weird. But then I also make them a bit more teal. Oh, I almost forgot. I also slightly changed the hair color to make it match a bit better. So here's Raelyn and many of my characters as more realistic portraits. Some of them I am more happy with than others, but this is always super fun to do. It's interesting to think how my characters' designs would translate to real life. And if there are any of my other characters you want to see me do this to, let me know down in the comments. If you liked this video, I recommend checking out the first time I did this with my other characters. Also, a big thank you to my super awesome YouTube members and Patreon patrons. Your support means a ton to me. Well, that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!